Hey guys, so today we're going to go through direct proportion. What is direct proportion? So, direct proportion can basically be summarized that if an object or a shape is increased or decreased by the same ratio, by the same fraction, by the same percentage, then the original shape or object and the new shape or object will have direct proportion. They'll have the same proportionate change. And that will just vary on whatever rate is given there. Now let's go through an example where we're dealing with velocity here. And the question states the velocity, or v, which is in meters per second of a falling object, is directly proportional to the time, t, in seconds. After 2 seconds, the velocity is 19.6 meters per second. Let's start by writing a proportional statement about what is proportional to what. So here we have velocity v is proportionate to time in t. So we can write v is proportionate to t. And this little fish symbol in the middle there is the symbol that represents proportional or direct proportion within mathematics. Now we have to create a formula of some sort in order to find unknown values. So we know here it says after 2 seconds the velocity is 19.6. But what would the velocity be after 3 seconds or 30 seconds or 100 seconds? So we need to create a formula in order to figure out what is the constant variable, we call it. So what we start off with is we replace this proportionate symbol with equals k. So we replace the velocity of the proportional symbol there with equal k. And on this side we have the v that comes down and the t. Now let's look at the question. And let's look at the rest of the question. It says after 2 seconds. Now that 2 seconds is my time. So I can put that 2 there. The velocity is 19.6. 19.6. And I have my equals k. Now my aim here is to find k, or the constant variable. Remember k? Sorry, small k, equals constant. I need to find my constant in order to figure out what is my formula. So I can use equations to rearrange this formula to get k by itself. Now with the k there's a multiplication of 2. So the opposite of multiplication of 2 is to divide both sides by 2. And that cancels that out, and I'm left with k equals 19.6 divided by 2, and I get 9.8. So now I figured out using the numbers that are given in the formula that k equals 9.8. So my formula is going to be, and this is what I'm going to use for any question, v, because v would be unknown, equals 9.8 t. And that's my formula there. And I can use that v equals 9.8t for any question. So let's go try and do a question using that formula now that we've figured out our constant velocity. So here it says, what will the velocity be after 3 seconds? So let's go back and quickly look at our formula. V equals 9.8t. So the first thing we always do is we write our formula. V equals 9.8t. So I have that formula. And now all I have to do is substitute whatever values I know. So I know 3 seconds, and that's my time, isn't it? So I can write v equals 9.8t, and my t in this second is 3. Now I wrote the multiplication symbol in the middle there because we know with algebra there is a secret little multiplication in the middle there. So let's go and just simply do that in the calculator. My velocity equals 9.8 times 3, which equals 29.4. Now the velocity, remember, is meters per second. Always include your measurement at the end, and that's my final answer there. That velocity equals 29.4 meters per second. Now let's go back and do another example. The question says, when will the velocity be 10 meters per second? So the first thing we always do is we always write the formula that we know. We know v equals 9.8t. So we've been given 10 meters per second, and that there is my velocity. So that's where I'm going to pop that in. So I'm going to write 10 equals 9.8t. Now, in order to find time, I need to use equations. And to use equations, I need to get rid of this multiplication of 9.8. And in order to get rid of the multiplication, the opposite or the inverse of times is divided by 9.8. Whatever I do on one side, I must do on the other. That cancels that out. I'm left with t equals 10 divided by 9.8. I'm left with 1.020408. I can round that off into seconds. So I'm going to round that off into 1.02 seconds. And I'm going to indicate there, that's the 2 decimal places. Always indicate when you round it off. So they are simple questions in regards to velocity. Now let's quickly flick back and go through it. The first thing I did is I wrote my proportional statement, which is there. Then I substituted that proportional symbol for equals k. Once I've done that, then I plug in the numbers that I have in my question into the formula, rearrange the formula to find k, and write my new formula that I'm going to use for all my questions. Once I have my new formula, then I use that for all types of questions. Here, you'll see, the first thing I did is write the formula. Then I substituted the values I know from the question, which is my 3 seconds. Then I rearranged that or calculated that to find my end answer. Again, here, with the question, the first thing I do, write the formula that I know, substitute the values, which is 10 meters, into the formula, into their correct locations, rearrange that till I find my end answer. And that's as simple as direct proportion is. If you have any further questions, please let me know.